Oh, I'm continuing to tweak my sketch. I'll define a little more the proportion. I'll tweak a little more the proportion of the arm here. And again, I don't need to detail in this stage. I don't need to go too much into the details, but I like to define a little more to have a better idea of the muscle structure of the character. But well, it helps, but it is not needed right now to detail too much. I'll define a little more here with standard and accurate curve turned on to have a more sharp brush. Let's continue here, tweak a little more the proportion of the arm. Yeah, I don't need to worry too much with the forearm right now, but I will define a little more here to add more volume, a little more volume here. Let's relax a little the chin. Define a little more, define, tweaking, going back and forth, try things, try new things. Don't be afraid to try things in this stage, since you don't have much elements. Actually, I have only 2 right now, but that's a good reason to try different things and don't go crazy and adjust everything again. So it is good to have a nice idea of your character right now and keep it as simple as possible. Define a little more here in the waist area, not too much. And the triceps a little more. Don't need to do this right now, but I like to. A little more tweaking, tweak again, trial and error, going back and forth. Sometimes it get a little repetitive, but that's okay. It is training. Define a little more. I'm almost done right now. Soon I'm gonna export to max and rescale the model. The scale right now it is too small, since it is the default of the ZBrush. So I don't have a scale reference right now. So that's why I need to go to max and rescale. Let's tweak a little more. And now I'm going to export to max. I will save a OBJ file for the upper body. So let's call it body. And for the legs. And we're gonna import this in max. Let's import it. Go in here. Soon I will get my model here. And just a little more. Here it is. Gonna import. I don't need the material. Import. Now the legs. No material. Import. So here is my model. It is too small, like I said before. So I'm gonna scale it to the height of an average person, about 2.8 meters. That's 1.8 meters. And now let's move here. And now we scale the model to the same size. I'm doing this in a normal project. You have a scale reference. Since I don't have a scale reference here, I'm not in an actual project, I'm gonna stick with the real world proportion. So about 1.8 meters, it is okay. It is, for this tutorial, it's not too important to have the right scale here, but it is good to know how to adjust these, these things. And I'm gonna reset X form. So I'm resetting the scale reference of the object, and I don't need the box anymore. And since I'm here in Max, I'm gonna start to model the proxies of the clothes. I'm gonna start with a plane, 1 by 1 segments, convert to poly, and let's start to model the waist area here. Let's move a little closer. Turn off the realistics. It's not a good idea. It's a little heavier in the viewport. And I'm gonna use the freeform tools for snapping the surface into the high poly. So I selected the surface and set the offset 0.1 so I don't keep too close to the model. And now let's use drag to move the vertices snapping into the surface. Let's adjust here. I will raise the offset a little bit. If you have any doubt using the freeform tools, just leave the cursor on the tool you want to use, and will appear a small help tutorials. It is very useful. Sometimes I forget the shortcuts. Actually, I set some shortcuts here for drag and extend. I'm using extend to extrude the edges along the surface, and let's use drag to adjust it. I'm gonna use this a lot in the future, but right now I just using for this piece here, but it will be very useful for the retopology process for the final mesh. But right now let's make the belt, and let's adjust a little more here. Yeah, it is okay. I won't get a accurate form here. I'm making simple forms that it is close to the concept, just to have an idea of each element. And now I'm gonna use symmetry. Let's set the mirror in 0, 0 in x axis. Now with the symmetry we have our two-sided model. Adjust here the position. The belt is almost ready, at least the proxy. There is a lot of work to do, but it will be very helpful having a visual reference of this piece of clothes. Adjust a little more here. Yeah. Now let's make another piece of cloth here. I just selected the faces and drag with shift pressed, and we will copy the face into the same element. I prefer to use different elements than different objects. It is easier to manipulate. I can select between them and select both vertices of both elements. I can manipulate it together and separate it. So I prefer to keep into the same object. And also I can use the same modifier, symmetry. Let's connect the faces here. Adjust the proportion. This is a big piece of cloth that covers almost all half of the leg. And it is very easy and fast doing this way. In a quick way you have a nice reference, a better idea of all the elements. In this area will be a lot of different elements. So it isn't, you don't need to be accurate, but it is nice to have a close approach of the main shape. Let's segment a little more. Since you're gonna go back to ZBrush with these models here, it is nice to have an even distribution of the polygons. So that's why I subdivide it a little more. I'm gonna make here a new piece of cloth. Select it, drag with Shift, and a new element. Clone two elements, not two objects. Clone two objects will make another object, a separated object. I prefer, like I said before, working with the same object with different elements. Now let's make this cloth of the back. Adjust here, not to overlap too much the leg. I need to cover it. Yeah, let's cover his butt here. It's very weird that way. Yeah, that's better. Connect it, adjust it, and quickly you have your proxy of the cloth. And adjust a little more. This cloth here there are a lot of elements fitting together, so I need to be conscious in the future about the position of each element. I don't want to overlap them. Let's connect a little more, making it even, a little more even. Let's adjust here, connect a little more. I'm just selecting an edge, a vertical edge, and clicking ring. Actually, I have a shortcut for that. And we'll select all parallel edges. Then I hit my shortcut for connect. So I create a new loop in this model between the edges I selected before. I use a lot of shortcuts here. Basically, I have shortcut for connect, collapse, and that's basically what I'm doing right now. Let's make a new piece of cloth here, a new element, the same way I did before, keeping on the same object, just different elements. Let's make some subdivision here to have something to manipulate. Let's make it thicker. Yeah, let's select these loops here, pulling back. Yeah, that's more this way. And I'm almost done right now. I'm not going to make all elements of the cloth here, just the bigger ones. I won't detail anything right now, just to have an idea. I'm seeing the concept step. So after I have all elements, all proxies modeled, and have a better idea of my model, of my overall character, with all elements fitting together, so I can start to detail it. Right now, just simple meshes. Let's make another piece of cloth here. Let's extrude the edges. Let's adjust here a little. Yeah, more this way. And well, yeah, now you're gonna use the realistic, the new nitrous viewport feature for Mac. So with occlusion turned on, I can see a little better the elements. It is useful, but you have sometimes it is too heavy in my viewport, so I normally turn it off. right now is, since I have don't have much elements here and light mesh, so won't affect too much the performance. And also sometimes this noisy optimization can be a little confusing when using the see-through, the transparent see-through mesh. Yeah, let's adjust here. And let's balance these edges. And yeah, I think I'm done with these elements here. I'm gonna create a little more. The hanging fabric that goes over all these elements here. First, I'm gonna just set this moving group to not have a faced look. It is nice to, it helps more with the visualization. Let's go with this new piece of cloth here, this hanging fabric. Let's move forward, connect it to adjust it. Yeah, that's it. Go back to shade. So the shortcut I used in this to toggle the transparency of the object is Alt X. I use this a lot, so that's why I normally have the viewport set shaded instead of realistic. Realistic is a nice feature to see when you have a lot of elements. So you have a nice occlusion effect and very fast. But for modeling, shaded is best. Shaded view, shaded. Let's adjust here. Yeah, this guy's here. Now let's make a new element. I almost done. A lot of pieces of clothes fitting together. It is gonna be tough to make this work right, but I'm gonna figure out a way. Yeah, make it an even mesh, more balanced, and everyone is the same object, so I keep selecting the elements. Yeah, this can give me a better idea. Now let's create a different element here. In this case, I'm gonna use a separate object. I'm gonna make this a little piece that lies in the front of the character. I will just model the basic shape just to mark his position. I don't need to detail it right now. Well, this is not a lace, but it looks a little like it. Let's keep this way for now. Refine a little more here. Yeah, I'm not gonna tweak it too much right now. I have a lot of work later. Yeah, let's get this thinner a little and adjust the curvature. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it will be useful to know what this element's gonna be and how big it's gonna be. and how to fit to the whole model. And now I'm gonna use the shell for the rest of the elements, so I have a notion of the thickness. And also in ZBrush it is easier to manipulate a closed mesh. You have more, and